everyone, and welcome back to Queen Elizabeth, A Day in Her Life. It's time for the royal news. So let's see what's been happening around the date of October 17th, 2025. First story comes from Sky News, dated October the 17th. And King Charles to become first British monarch to pray publicly with the Pope in 500 years. This is by Rhiannon Mills, royal correspondent. The King will become the first British monarch to pray publicly with the Pope since the Reformation 500 years ago during a state visit to the Holy See next week. The King and Queen will meet the new pontiff, Pope Leo XIV, at the Apostolic Palace, his official residence, next Thursday during their trip to Vatican City. In a highly significant moment in relations between the Catholic Church and the Church of England, of which His Majesty is Supreme Governor, the King and Queen and the Pope will attend a special ecumenical service in the Sistine Chapel celebrating the ongoing work toward unity and cooperation among different Christian churches. The decision for the King and the Pope to pray together during the service will be the first time a monarch and a pontiff have joined together in this type of moment of reflection in the 500 years since the Reformation, when in 1534 King Henry VIII declared himself as head of the Church of England and broke from the papal authority of the Roman Catholic Church. In another historic step, the King will be made royal comforter of the Abbey of St. Paul's outside the walls. The abbot of the community and the archpriest of the basilica wish to confer the title and receive the Pope's approval to do so. To mark the occasion, a special seat has been made, decorated with the King's coat of arms. The King will use it during the service, after which it will remain in the apse of the basilica for future use by His Majesty and his heirs and successors. English kings had a particular link with the papal basilica of St. Paul's outside the walls until the Reformation. It is also known as the papal basilica, where reconciliation, ecumenism, and relationships across the Christian faith are celebrated. A spokesperson for the Church of England said, "The royal confrater title, whilst it confers no duties or obligations on the King and makes no changes whatsoever to the formal, constitutional, and ecclesiastical position of His Majesty as the Supreme Governor of the Church of England, it is the tribute to His Majesty in his own work over the many decades to find common ground between faiths and to bring people together." The trip comes during the Catholic Church's 2025 Jubilee year, held traditionally every 25 years. Pilgrims of Hope is the theme of this Jubilee. The visit will also reflect the joint commitment from both Pope Leo and the King to protect nature and their shared concern for the environment. The service at the Sistine Chapel will have the theme of Care for Creation, and they will attend a meeting on sustainability. A spokesperson from the Foreign Office said, "At a time of growing instability and conflict, the UK's relationship with the Holy See is more important than ever. The Holy See is a key international actor. We work with the Holy See to promote human dignity, to promote peace, and combat climate change. So His Majesty's visit will strengthen the UK's relationship with this crucial and influential global partner." Only in 1961 did Queen Elizabeth II become the first British monarch since the Reformation to make an official visit to the Holy See. In April this year, a royal visit had to be canceled due to the ill health of Pope Francis, but both the King and the Queen did meet privately with him while on a trip to Rome. It is understood Pope Leo and the King have been actively engaged in how this reorganized visit will look and the themes that it will cover. The second story is from Fox News, and it's dated October the 17th, 2025. Meghan Markle's less than subtle jabs at royal family deepen divide. This story is by Janelle Ash and Ashley Papa for Fox News. Markle said she was nesting and healing after her royal exit, a remark some royal experts interpreted as less than subtle jab at Prince Harry's family. On October 14th, Markle was invited to speak at the Fortune Most Powerful Women Summit at the Salamander Hotel in Washington, D.C. She discussed her and Prince Harry's decision to step away from the royal family and move to California in 2020. The Duchess of Sussex explained that at the time there was no plan beyond nesting and healing as they adjusted to their new reality. "I think 5 years ago was a very different situation for all of us. Archie was so little, and I had just gotten pregnant with Lily around that same time, so we were nesting and healing. And I don't know if I had the bandwidth at that time to think about the big picture dream was. There was no plan. It was just, let's just get through these next couple of years, create community, which is always so important to the both of us, and our new environment, Markle said, according to the Daily Mail. Markle and Harry moved to Montecito, California in 2020, stepping away from their senior roles in the royal family. They have 2 children, Prince Archie, 6, and Princess Lilibet, 4. British royal expert Hilary Fordwich told Fox News Digital that Markle's speech at the summit was a way to reshape her narrative while making subtle jabs at the royal family. Meghan Markle, is yet again doing her utmost to reshape her narrative, yet again banging on subtly with past grievances regarding discomfort within the royal family, while again projecting her independence. Her remarks are less than subtle jabs, again at the monarchy's supposed interpersonal shortcomings, she said. For which continued, she loses either way. Either she is oblivious to the digs she is making, or they are deliberate. If she's oblivious, then she lacks self-awareness. If they're deliberate, she reinforces all those who see her as traitorous and vindictive. Particularly her cryptic nesting healing comments and references to the lack of a plan come across as rebuking royal norms, while being so self-centered they further confirm her total lack of institutional loyalty. British broadcaster and photographer Helena Chard agreed that this was Markle taking a jab at the royal family. Meghan is in the midst of a PR blitz promoting her brand. She's determined to succeed in building her commercial empire. Meghan has no allegiance to the royal family, to the British royal family or UK. She does, however, know the value of the royal family to her brand and will ensure that she's attached to this valuable asset, she told Fox News Digital. By reminding people of her awful time with the royal family and in the UK, gives her the excuse to offend and do as she pleases without a care in the world, Chard added. It's simply onwards and upwards for Meghan. Royal commenter Amanda Maida told Fox News Digital that hearing Markle say she didn't have a plan helps contextualize a lot of decisions she and Harry made in 2020. I've long thought exactly this about Harry and Meghan's early years in California, so it's nice to hear her vocalize it. Hearing Meghan say there was no plan helps to contextualize a lot of the decisions the Sussexes made in regard to their first business deals with Spotify, Penguin Random House, and Netflix. Matta continued, those deals 5 years on now read less than a grand strategy and more like a scramble to build stability after leaving royal life. You have to wonder whether having a big picture vision in place would have meant more thoughtful, specific partnerships rather than broad, sweeping, multi-year deals. Matta said she doesn't interpret Markle's remarks as a jab towards the royal family. It sounds more like an honest reflection on how hard it would be to reinvent yourself after walking away from an institution that dictated every detail of your life. Nesting and healing would have been priorities, but so would the more maternal aspects of survival, she said. The process Meghan is going through right now is to come to terms with what happened to her. The constant abuse and negativity on her attempts to create a working life is enormous. The comments and her motives for her current activities are, in my view, purely a means to come to terms with moving her life and her family forward, he told Fox News Digital. Royal expert Richard Fitzsimmons told Fox News Digital that Markle forgot to mention beginning destructive family rifts in her speech at the summit. Her comments on her brief period as a working royal were low-key for her. Presumably by creating community and healing, she was conveniently forgetting beginning destructive family rifts, he said. The third story is from The Independent. King Charles considers stripping Prince Andrew of royal title. This story is by Bryony Gooch, dated the 17th of October 2025. King Charles is reportedly considering stripping Prince Andrew of his title as the Duke of York after the palace reached a tipping point with him over a string of scandals. The king is considering all options, a royal source told The Times, with one option being to remove Andrew from dukedom. Another option would be to banish him from the Order of the Garter. The move would require an act of Parliament, but it would likely receive government and public support if it had the king's backing, according to the newspaper. But it is hoped that Andrew would voluntarily give up the title before being forced. The royal household's concern and anxiety around Andrew stem from recent revelations about his connections to the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and to a senior Chinese Communist Party official at the heart of the Chinese spy case scandal. Prince Andrew held meetings in 2018 and 2019 with Kei Oi, currently the first-ranked member of the Secretariat of the Chinese Communist Party and de facto Chief of Staff Xi Jinping. Mr. Kai was suspected of being the recipient of sensitive information allegedly passed to China by two British nationals accused of spying for Beijing. The Crown Prosecution Service dropped charges against suspected spies Christopher Berry and Christopher Cash last month, citing a lack of evidence. Both have denied any wrongdoing. Prince Andrew met the senior CCP figure at least 3 times, according to the Telegraph, in both London and Beijing during the time when Mr. Berry and Mr. Cash were allegedly recruited for espionage. Meanwhile, an extract from the posthumous memoir of Virginia Giuffre, published on Wednesday by The Guardian, alleged that she had 3 separate encounters with the prince. Miss Guthrie settled a sexual assault lawsuit against the Duke of York, who has always vehemently denied any wrongdoing, in February 2022. Miss Guthrie died earlier this year. Miss Guthrie described the prince in the book Nobody's Girl, a memoir of surviving abuse and fighting for justice, as friendly enough, but she had sex with him on various occasions, including while staying at the house of Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's former girlfriend, near Hyde Park, London, in March 2001. The extract states, "Maxwell woke me up that morning by announcing in a sing-songy voice, 'Get out of bed, sleepyhead. It's going to be a special day,' she said. Just like Cinderella, I was going to meet a handsome prince." Removal of Andrew's dukedom could be well received publicly, as a YouGov poll this summer showed 67% of people favored of stripping him of his title. The process could take parliamentary time with procedural difficulties, according to the Times, who cited a source hoping that he might act with honor and give up his titles voluntarily. This would be the strongest line the palace has taken with the prince since the late Queen stripped him of his royal role in 2019. The Independent has contacted Buckingham Palace and the Duke of York for comment. The fourth and last story comes from the BBC. It was dated October the 15th. A posthumous memoir by Virginia Giuffre accuses the Duke of York of being entitled, as if he believed having sex with me was his birthright, according to extracts published in the Guardian newspaper. In the book Nobody's Girl, written by the prominent accuser of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, it's due to be published next week, almost 6 months after Miss Giuffre took her own life. Her book, which calls Epstein a master manipulator, describes 3 occasions where she alleges Prince Andrew had sex with her, including at Ghislaine Maxwell's house in London. It's further embarrassment for Prince Andrew, who reached a financial settlement with Miss Giuffre in 2022 and has always denied any wrongdoing. Nobody's Girl, a memoir of surviving abuse and fighting for justice, is the testimony of Virginia, who died by suicide in Australia in April, in a book co-written by author Amy Wallace. Miss Giuffre, who met Jeffrey Epstein through Ghislaine Maxwell, claimed that she was one of the many vulnerable girls and young women who have been sexually exploited by Epstein in a circle of wealthy connections. The powerful friends were claimed to include Prince Andrew, and the extract published in the Guardian gives her account of when they met in London in March 2001, when she was age 17. She says the day began by being woken by Ghislaine Maxwell. "It's going to be a special day," she said. "Just like Cinderella, I was going to meet a handsome prince." When Andrew arrived later, she claims that he was asked to guess her age. The Duke of York, who was then 41, guessed correctly, 17. "My daughters are just a little bit younger than you," he told me, explaining his accuracy. As usual, Maxwell was quick with a joke. "I guess we'll have to trade her in soon," says her memoir. Like Epstein, she said she called him Andy. There was also an account of the notorious photograph from that evening. "My mom would never forgive me if I met someone as famous as Prince Andrew and didn't pose for a picture." I ran to get a Kodak FunSaver from my room, then returned and handed it to Epstein. I remember the prince putting his arm around my waist as Maxwell grinned beside me. Epstein snapped the photo, she writes. They went to dinner and then Tramp nightclub, she recalls, saying Andrew was a bumbling dancer, and I remember he sweated profusely. On the way back, Maxwell told me, when we get home, you are to do for him what you do for Jeffrey. She said of what happened next, he was friendly enough but still entitled, as if he believed having sex with me was his birthright. As has been reported before, she claimed he was partially attentive to my feet, caressing my toes and licking my arches, and that later Epstein gave her $15,000 for her time with Andrew. The book also reports 2 other occasions on which she alleges she had sex with Andrew, in Epstein's townhouse in New York and on Epstein's private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. All 3 of the claimed meetings with Andrew have been reported in detail before, including in her previous witness statements and accounts, but this brings them together and provides her own perspective. Don't be fooled by those in the Epstein circle who say they didn't know what he was doing. Epstein not only didn't hide what was happening, he took a certain glee in making people watch, she writes. The book also reveals that she was taking tranquilizers to cope with her life working for Epstein. Sometimes when I was really struggling, I took as many as 8 Xanax a day, she writes. She also explained why she didn't leave Epstein's lair even after we knew what he wanted from us. How can you complain about being abused, some have asked, when you could have so easily stayed away? But that stance discounts what many of us have been through before we encountered Epstein, as well as how good he was at spotting girls whose wounds made them vulnerable, she writes. Several of us had been molested or raped as children. Many of us were poor or even homeless. We were girls who no one cared about, and Epstein pretended to care. After leaving Epstein, Miss Giuffre settled in Australia, where she lived with her husband and the 3 children. She took her own life at the age of 41. Epstein had killed himself in jail in New York while waiting a trial, and Ghislaine Maxwell was jailed on charges related to sex trafficking. Prince Andrew made a financial payment to Miss Giuffre in an out-of-court settlement, which he had brought a civil case against him, and he denies all the accusations made against him. He refutes Ms. Giuffre's claims of having sex with him at 3 locations. I can absolutely categorically tell you it never happened, Andrew said in his BBC Newsnight interview. I can tell you categorically I don't remember meeting her at all. I do not remember a photograph being taken, and I've said consistently and frequently that we never had any sort of sexual contact whatsoever, he said. Prince Andrew has faced challenges over aspects of his own account. He said he had cut all links with Epstein after seeing him in New York in December 2010, but an email later emerged from February 2011, which suggested that Andrew was still in touch with the promise to play some more soon. The Duke of York's office has been contacted for comment. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so, it would help the channel to grow, as well as giving it a thumbs up. It's all a great help. And if you haven't clicked on the notification bell, if you could do that, it lets you know when a video is posted. More importantly, I want to wish everyone a good day, and tune in again soon for another episode of Queen Elizabeth, A Day in Her Life, the Royal News. Thank you. Bye.